Welcome to Earthly Visions. My name is Ralph Ivery. I'm your host today. Earthly Vision views artists and artisans. Earthly Vision is produced at the White Griffin Studio here in Woodstock, New York. The producer is David G. Saxman. Our today's guest is Marilyn Bloomer. Marilyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, and how's things going for you so far?
As an artist, they're going fine.
Okay.
There is a struggle in this world,
The
this
economy. Yeah.
but I keep doing it. One can't stop when they're an artist. For me, it's my art.
Are you local here, or are you like, you said you were born in Brooklyn and stuff?
Right. I live in Kingston right now. I guess I moved up here to Ulster County in 1975.
Okay.
Approximately that, and basically lived around Rosendale in New Paltz and raised a son there who went through the New Paltz School District. And after he graduated high school, I decided I didn't own anything, and I was tired of paying rent, and I ended up buying a house in the Rondell.
Okay.
The unhandy woman special, assuming it would give me very nice studio space, this particular house. And so I've been there since '96.
Alrighty. Now, when you lived in the city, did you go to a lot of museums, or?
Yeah. When I lived in the city, well, I lived in Brooklyn a bunch.
Right.
As I smirk away, I love Brooklyn. I went to Pratt. It was a great place to be, involving the arts, involving us all crazy people in the 1960s. And I eventually moved to the Lower East Side a few times. And there were galleries kind of hidden all over the place.
Right.
It's not as it is now, or even 15 years ago. It was a great community of artists. I did, of course, but I did go, the only places I went uptown were, the Metropolitan, the Modern, and a few galleries up there. My first show in 1969 was on Madison Avenue with a group of friends, artists, musicians, visual artists, etc. We did an environment in a gallery up there that I think was called the Tosca Gallery.
And the show itself, so it was an environmental show.
Yes.
So was it like the works were done like reflecting to certain areas of our environment, like landscape or
No,
stuff like that?
it was
I'm
more,
sure.
in the 1960s there were things called happenings,
Okay.
which were just,
They were like sayings, I sort of remember that.
like what? I'm sorry?
Sayings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really what this was. One didn't know who was going to show up and become part of the
Right.
environment happening. The fact that it was on Madison Avenue was quite a trip for us all, because we hardly ever went above 14th Street. And when I say environmental, you take a room,
Right.
and you transform it
Okay.
into
Like a habitat or
continual,
something?
continual
Okay.
piece of art.
Right.
Yeah.
So, out of the environment for the habitat and stuff, so more or less you might say that it was like sort of an open mixed media type show?
Yes.
Where everybody expressed their own views of what they thought should be right and wrong? In a sense, yeah.
We did our own art, and we did express our own views, but
Right.
we, what's the word? It was really interwoven. Our art became your art. We just
Okay.
worked together to complete a cohesive, although one would not use the cohesive word in the 60s, but just really the whole room was a gallery.
Fine. Okay, also you said that you had worked in sort of inspiration art with different people, different ages and stuff. I was wondering if you could tell us something about that.
Okay. Eventually, when before I came to Ulster County, I traveled around a lot and ended up at one point, and then I had a child and tried to stay in one spot, but we ended up in Cambridge, Somerville, Massachusetts. And I needed work, and I found a job up there with a newly organizing group that I co-founded with at least probably 15, 20 other people, so it was not just one. And we planned programs to go into nursing homes and mental health facilities as artists. We were all artists of different, what's the right word? Different, we were all artists, visual, musical, written word, etc. And it was a successful program while I was there. Excuse me. We eventually, meaning I eventually moved back. After that is when I came to Ulster County.
Okay.
And lived here, and again needed work, and was raising a kid, and was trying to stay in one spot. And there was a program called the CEDAR program.
I remember the CEDAR program very much.
Federal money distributed through the state. 6
months to a year.
Right. And I ended up getting a job in Woodstock with a place called the Creative Education Center, which was located at the community center on Rock City Road. And again, it was all artists of different disciplines. Hey, I remember the word. And we brought arts into nursing homes and mental health facilities.
Now,
it was.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to. My political nature needs to finish this. It was so successful. It was really a wonderful, successful program. We ended up getting scholarships to a program at the new school called entitled Arts in the Aging Seminar, because we were really a groundbreaking program. There was very little of this going on. We were also offered by the State Council on the Arts money, lots of money to not just start the program, but to expand it and keep it going. But the man whose name I remember, should I mention names? Al Spada, I think. Spada was his last name. In order to get the grant, we had to be able to continue the program for 6 more months, which was legally possible, but he refused to give us the time. And there was really no money around to continue our program. So that's how I continued working with that, population. After that ended, I eventually worked for a place in Kingston called Beacon House, doing the same thing, working with the arts.
Now, when you worked with the art, these programs, did you sort of create things for them to do, or was free range, they could do what they want, and more or less, help them out?
When we brought the programs into facilities, we really had a program in mind, but I don't feel you can be that stiff and contained with people.
Right.
So we did what people, though we had a program, we did what people were capable of doing.
Okay, but they were comfortable.
Yeah.
I can understand.
And then along with that, with me going to work at Beacon House, a psychosocial day center, I was hired as a consultant, so the funding came from them to pay me. I also was able to go work for the Women's Studio Workshop, doing environmental art, real environmental art, arts out in the community. And I worked with a partner there, Woody, and did everything from, we both, I had a conception for a completed piece, he did too, and I worked aiding him and he worked aiding me. In other words, we did an environmental piece on 32 with parachutes. I did a window piece along with a woman named Joni Miller, who's an incredible artist, photographer. What else did we do? Within that that grant, there was an Ulster County Arts Festival held at Creative Music Studio that there used to be Ulster County Arts Council, which does not exist now, established and organized and put together with Creative Music, and we ended up doing a moving balloon piece in the pool, which I do still have slides of. I did design, and it was put up a billboard for the festival.
What festival would that be?
It was an Ulster County Arts Festival I must get a little confused, in the life of an artist is very confusing. God, can't find it.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Oops, excuse me.
1980, I'm sorry, 1980. It was really a county-wide arts festival, so all different arts groups within the county participated in it. And there was incredible music and incredible art there.
Okay, holding this Unseen America,
Okay.
could you give us a little collaboration on that?
In 2008, someone told me about a program being offered by Local 1199 called Unseen America, Working Lives, Working Hands. And they did it all over New York State in different counties. It was a program it was a photography program. All work was to be done in black and white. Everybody who came was a worker, which really appealed to me because rather than the word artist, I really respect art worker more.
Okay.
Because of my own political nature. So the program was held in Kingston, and God, I'm trying to remember how many weeks, 2 months, some period of time, and all our photographs were kind of assigned with a title, and all done with a point and shoot black and white film. And then the following week we brought our film in, and being workers and all being broke, the program included developing all film. And so the week after we took photographs, they'd all be distributed, and we go through the photographs and pick out the particular ones that we felt.
Now, were these shot for like a political type thing, or was it just to make people more aware of what's going on around them?
Knowing 1199, I originally felt that it was a very political program, but the politics of it really, I'm sorry, I think more heavily involved that each individual is from the working class. You know, a lot of people were social workers, had worked in some type of community work. Because it was, again, it's kind of similar to what my response to your question of asking, did we have a program, did we let people do it? You know, if you took a good photograph, that was what was most important. Or if you felt a kind of an affinity to the photograph. And it had been a long time since I sat and had instantly showed other people my photographs, especially with a point and shoot.
Did you find it hard getting people to be sort of a subject matter when you guys took pictures, or were they more willing to do it?
Yeah, no, I not really. I think people, if one approaches people well, yeah, and they weren't all, the work I did wasn't all a kind of a formal portrait. It was less formal, where I'd catch.
Is that like a coin, or is that a plate?
This was, I think, originally a self-portrait that we needed the assignment. No, this is a, I don't know what to call it. They're in elevators. You get into the elevator and they're in the corner. And I actually had difficulty taking a photograph of myself, which I become critical of. But also I wanted a photograph without the image of the camera in it.
Right.
So this was actually on my side porch with a reflection of the landscape, the trees in my backyard, and my hand looking strangely like a working person's rubber hand. And I was surprised that this is the one. The woman who taught the class would pick out the eventual one to represent you in each particular class.
Okay, so from there, where did you see yourself going and where did you land up at? You know, what's the next stage of the journey?
Well, somewhere in between this, everything I'm talking about, I ended up getting a digital camera. My son said,
It's time.
it's time, you have to have a digital camera. So I went down the city, and I was kind of a reluctant starter with it. And then I just loved it and couldn't stop photographing. And not only photographing, but also wanting to kind of integrate, transform my work, my photographs back into my mixed media work.
Right.
The black and white class for me was wonderful because I love black and white film. I love photographs. I love Robert Frank's work. I happen to have been in a show upstate here that was held at Deep Listening Space and sponsored by the Floating Foundation of Photography. It was called Mixed Bag Deep Listening Space, and it was world-renowned photographers, Ouija, Margaret, I think Margaret Burke-White, just anybody, the best photographers in the world, many from New York City. And they asked three of us, unknown, people from in Ulster County to hang in the show, and I was one of them. And again, it brought me back to the black and white feeling.
Right.
So I'm stating this all in reference to the fact that along with the wonderful color that can be seen when you do digital photography, that I seem to be able to kind of absorb into my work, I took some photographs that had that bold color but which I knew were going to be black and white, and that's how I printed them. This is actually a triptych. And I did hang it in the show up here, but I brought the one piece.
Now, for those who don't know what a triptych is, could you explain that?
It's 3 pieces of work that are hung or shown together. As a triptych is three pieces. Or I would have even preferred having them all in one frame, but this is what I was able to do, is put them in individual frames. So it brought me back, it brought me back to black and white.
Now, I noticed you do, like, you were telling me before, was diner type photographs.
Yeah.
Could you tell us something about those?
I guess within the first year and a half, 2 years, maybe the first 6 months, whenever I got my camera, I was invited to submit to a photography, or I think it was a photography show, with the title Diners, and I absolutely love diners.
Okay.
And I basically went around Ulster County and photographed diners.
Now,
inside and out.
Sorry, when you entered the show for diners, did you like get the entry out of a magazine, or was it posters or something?
No, I don't remember. I'm sure it was somebody just telling me about it. Or, although, again, the Unseen America show that I just spoke about was held at KMOCA,
Okay.
Kingston Museum of Contemporary Art on Abeale Street, and the Diner Show was there too, so it might have even been through an email from them. And I not only photographed up here, I photographed in the city too. This was taken at a diner called the Trolley Diner, and I have one other one that thank you. This was taken in the city at the Munson Diner while I was starving and waiting for my breakfast.
Okay.
And I have others with even more of an emphasis on the steel. I love the reflective quality of the steel in these old diners. So yes, I put 4 photographs. 4 photographs were accepted into that show. And the opening night of the show, I had gone in at whatever time it started, 5 o'clock, and I stayed a bit. And there was another show I wanted to go to, and I ran over there and of course got hung up a bit and came running back to this show because I feel you should be around for your own show opening. And there was a woman there who I really respected as an artist photographer. And she said, "It's about time you got here. Is this you?" And people didn't know that I did photographs. I think I did have a 35mm years ago, but I don't think I have. Well, I have some slides, a bunch of slides remaining of the work I did then. So nobody really knew I photographed, and it seems that in the world of art, they have a tendency to try to contain you. Oh, they do landscaping, or Man Ray, he only did these certain photographs. But your work can be anything. I truly believe there should be no rules, or you need to just expand on what your heart tells you, your heart and soul
Now,
tells
did you find yourself taking a lot of pictures when you were young and or a teenager?
No.
None at all?
No, I think I had a brownie, maybe I took some.
Okay.
My childhood is, I think what allowed me to survive my childhood was doing art, looking at art. I took, and just learning about it, getting lost in it, and I really didn't do anything besides withdrawing and getting lost in looking.
No painting,
That sounds awfully
no
melodramatic.
sculpture or anything like that?
Yeah, I've done sculpture. In the realm of mixed media, I've done a lot of contained boxes.
Okay.
For people who don't know what that is, just think of Joseph Cornell, who's probably one of the most famous mixed media, famous for his boxes, contained worlds. I only have, I think, 1 or 2 left, and they are in collections.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I did a show in the city at PS1 in, here it'll tell me, 1982. And again, I'm not sure how I originally found out about it, because I was living up here then. But it was entitled The Wild Art Show, and it was curated by Faith Ringgold, who's a fantastic, incredible artist. And what it was wild art, and we would do something that was different than our normal.
Almost like a Salvador?
Well, it could be anything. My work has, though it seems very literal, it's very, well anyway, it's surreal. This is surreal. It's a crazy quality, a wild. But something that was different than, that would challenge our usual way of working. And so I ended up doing totems. They were about 6 to 8 feet tall. And I was accepted into the show. And the initial description of work was that it wasn't to be too big. And I spoke to Faith, and she said, that's what it became, and submitted. And it was at PS1 in New York, in Long Island City.
Now, when you did the totems, what was your subject matter? Was it like based on Indian folklore, or did you have things that, sort of represent you?
At the time I did this, I think, I mean, for me, my work represents me, but in a more universal
Right.
way. And being that the show, which was hundreds of people, artists showing, was all women.
Okay.
So I think it really reflected my feminist, you know, I don't want to say feminist, but womanly.
Your womanly ways.
You're right, my womanly ways. And these pieces were made from fur and satin and gold threads and woven, and not really woven, I'm sorry, glued and tied and you know, fabrics even added to it. And it was never shown as it was intended to be shown because it was a group of shows within a Women's Caucus for Art. They gave us a smaller room. My piece was originally supposed to be shown standing up. So it's standing on a base in this photograph, but it was supposed to be on the floor with barbed wire surrounding it. But because of the space confines and our worry about somebody getting hurt, Faith and I found a base within the museum and put it on that, which ended up being a good idea. It was the coldest day of the winter. It was below zero in an unheated or very little heated space, and hundreds and thousands of people showed up for the show.
I was going to say, when you talk about raising your son, you know, when you were, did he go to most of your shows?
Yes.
Yeah. And how does he
can see
feel
him
about art
laughing.
now?
My son is an artist.
Oh, great.
He is, I don't know, he's a photographer, though he really doesn't like to, you know, I guess we were close. We have, you know, some of the same thoughts and values. He likes my work, and I love his work. But he's, of course, much younger than me. So there's, you know, a big difference.
Yeah.
And he now has a blog and has his work up online, which is tremendous.
Okay,
I could go on, Brad.
now you have some mixed media photos here.
Uh-huh.
Could you tell us something about those?
I guess since mixed media was my first love, I did draw a lot and paint a lot, but it wasn't until I got to mixed media that I felt I could really free myself. And I really work a lot from my dreams. I like people to question kind of the world, their reality.
Your thought pattern.
Yeah, the thoughts.
I like to do that.
This is called Galloping Grace Flying.
Okay.
I like to transform forms.
All right, I see you have like
Forms.
a comfortable couch, a clown there. Took a couple clowns, and then you have, I'm not sure if they're figurines or statues.
This.
These guys.
It's the Graces,
And
3 Graces.
This for some reason sort of reminds me of a statue over there. I guess because I'm looking at it this way. Like the crown or something.
Right. You know, space is very important to me when I do a piece. I like, I shouldn't be looking down, right? I like to, negative, positive space, images, the two amoebic forms in there, I think were buildings.
Okay.
That I cut differently, and then I changed colors, and I, you know, printed them that way. That was done on actually a Xerox machine, not on the computer, probably as it should be. The hair enclosed in the bag at the bottom and sewn closed is actually my hair.
Now, what was the title of the picture again? It's
Galloping Graces, ... flying. The graces are something that repeat in a lot of images, and it's hard for me to talk about my work. Usually I ask people to tell me what they think about my work and what they see, and what it brings out.
Right.
in them. So that's a repeat image. I usually, as I said, in the diner series, and I have others. I did a series when the Dalai Lama came to Woodstock in the field. I like to do my work in series, so I take, I repeat images and repeat spaces, and the hair is enclosed in the bag. One of the kids is enclosed in the bag. I'll sew on top of it. I just do what comes, put on paper or within a box structure, which I actually have.
Could you tell us a little about this look right here?
This is the Last Supper, Pink Pears. In a way, it's a very political piece. You know, where are the values? Maybe in the floating dollars. I like to take, this is an artist proof, so it's smaller than the original piece. I don't know if you can see it, but there are some dancing girls up here, down in the middle. Yeah. And I like to change, though I don't have too much of that here. Like I use the Mona Lisa repeatedly in a lot of pieces, and I change her. I add wings, I cover up her face. This particular image has a flower over her face. And I originally used it in a piece that was a diptych that's pretty large. So it's kind of evolves from one heart and it just goes. But I'm tired of the world. Anyway, this is called Last Supper, Pink Pears. This is actually a portrait. I should be doing this. But I took it at a friend's birthday party. It wasn't his birthday. But I just loved the different, to me it's a collage, his shirt, the way the arm is, the glass of wine he's holding up, and you can see the tree through the glass of wine. And I need to look at it to remember what else. And just the different space cut up, the way it all is. I have a tendency to use bits and pieces of bodies rather than just a straight formal portrait, though I do.
I think you said you had that one in the show. Yeah,
I've had everything here in shows.
Okay.
Not everything, but almost everything. This was photographed at a wedding reception I went to. It's called Pink. And I just, again, the color was very influential when I...
You can sit down on your lap.
Okay,
I have to
good.
hold that.
The color was very influential when I took this photograph. Plus I had just met the woman in the red dress. And just the way this, again, the space breaks up, which really tells us, or me, who this is. But of course my interaction was verbal with her too. The breakup of the bottles and the hands and my favorite pink nails. I don't remember who that is. And then I go, one more piece, I guess. This photograph, I got a call from a friend one day who told me that the Saugerties Carousel was closing. Being that I'd never gone in there or had closed, I decided to go down there with her. She said they were selling off things, and I have a real love and affinity with amusement park stuff. So, can I put down?
Yes.
So I went down there with her, and I brought my camera. He was selling things, so I was interested in that too. I went down there with my camera, and I asked him, would you mind if I took some photographs? And he was a little bit tense that this kind of little old lady came in, and I thought he thought I had a little brownie.
Okay.
And he, okay. So I did a whole bunch of photographs there, and just of course fell in love with everything. And I liked him a lot. He wasn't really, grumpola. He was sad about having to let go of everything. And I came back probably a week or two later with 5 prints for him. And I'm sorry, and he loved them. And that was the last time oh no, it wasn't the last time. It was, I had seen him once or twice after that. And he had sold everything. So I have a whole series of photographs from the Saugerties Carousel building.
All right, before we end, I'm just gonna ask you a couple more questions,
Okay.
like, where do you see yourself going from here? Do you have any plans or anything?
What are my plans? My plans are to try to keep doing my work. Gets harder and harder every day. I have a ton of new photographs that I haven't printed up because I might as well be blunt, since everybody else up here is struggling. I don't have the money,
Right.
to do it. So my plan is to be able to continue doing my work. I can never stop. When I stop, it just makes me very sad. I'd like to see, what I would like to see up here is, they wrote many newspaper articles at how the only place that has more artists per capita than Ulster County is New York City. So that's nice, but where are the people who come to shows? Where are the gallery owners who are open more than 4 days a month? Have an artist, artists put together shows and they're open once a week. And they say by appointment, though I know some galleries where people had trouble getting in. So I'd like to see some development in Ulster County again, some community work, and some development to people looking and talking about art.
Now, you
so-
said that you might be in an upcoming art show?
Oh yeah, I just got a prospectus for a show at Ulster County Community College, and I'm absolutely going to do a whole series of work on the subject of
No.
matter. It's
What-
a curated show. It's
What
a
day
jury
would
show.
that be, if people wanted to go see it?
They'll just have to watch for it. It's the regional show. It's the Ulster County Community College regional show.
Well, our time is up, unfortunately.
Okay.
Maybe we could talk again. At this point, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to
Thank
thank
you.
the audience, and I'd like to thank Dave Saxman, also at the White Griffin, for putting this on. And see you next time.